Tonight we have stepped out from the old into the new. So let us speak now with clarity and conviction that cannot be misunderstood about what this new age will deliver and for whom. This will be an age where New Yorkers expect from their leaders a bold vision of what we will achieve, rather than a list of excuses for what we are too timid to attempt. Central to that vision will be the most ambitious agenda to tackle the cost of living crisis that this city has seen since the days of Figueroa LaGuardia, who see politics today as too cruel for the flame of hope to still burn. New York, we have answered those fears. So hear me, President Trump, when I say this. To get to any of us, you will have to get through all of us. The conventional wisdom would tell you that I am far from the perfect candidate. I am young, despite my best efforts to grow older. I am Muslim. I am a democratic socialist. And most damning of all, I refuse to apologize for any of this. New York will remain a city of immigrants, a city built by immigrants, powered by immigrants, and as of tonight, led by an immigrant. So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up. Central to that effort is a transition team that is defined by the excellence New Yorkers will soon come to expect from government. Our team will be directed by Ilana Leopold, whose roots in this city extend back to her grandmother running the trams on Roosevelt Island. She has extensive experience in city government and has been a key part of our campaign to become the next mayor of this city. And it will be led by our formidable co-chairs, former Federal Trade Commissioner Chair Lena Khan, former First Deputy Mayor Maria Torres Springer, United Way President and CEO Grace Bonilla, and former Deputy Mayor for Health and Human Services Melanie Hartzog. This is a president who ran a campaign on the promise of cheaper groceries, and now, as was said by one of our co-chairs, has gone so far as to cut SNAP benefits for close to 2 million New Yorkers. Someone who is literally making it harder to afford those same groceries whose price he was decrying not that long ago. I continue to be interested in having a conversation with President Trump on the ways in which we could work together to serve New Yorkers, whether that be delivering on his campaign promises around cost of living or the many issues that New Yorkers have been sharing with me about the drastic impacts that the legislation that President Trump has ushered through Washington will mean for them and their lives. I can see the dawn of a better day for humanity.
Zohran Mamdani will become the next mayor of New York City. He is making history as the first Muslim and South Asian to lead New York City. At 34 years old, he is the youngest mayor the biggest city in the U.S. has elected in well over 100 years.
It is our moment.
Mamdani is a political newcomer.
My name is Assemblymember Zohran Mamdani.
In 2020, he was elected to the State Assembly, representing just over 100,000 people in Queens. His inexperience became a key issue in the race.
This is not a job for a first-timer.
When I don't have an experience, I make up for an integrity. I'm about to say something to you you've never heard a politician say. Please stop sending us money.
Mamdani has disrupted traditional political campaigning. He harnessed the power of social media and was a constant presence on the trail, speaking directly to voters, sometimes in their own language.
পুরা ব্যালট পূরণ করবেন।
And he shocked the political establishment by beating former Governor Andrew Cuomo in the Democratic primary earlier this year.
The night was not our night.
I will work to be a mayor you will be proud to call your own.
His policies have drawn fierce support and criticism. Mamdani is a member of the Democratic Socialist of America. He won over younger, progressive voters and the city's immigrant communities with a pledge to raise taxes on the wealthy, make public buses and childcare free, and freeze rent for 2 million rent-stabilized tenants across the city.
I'm freezing your rent. Let's plunge into the details.
He has also faced criticism over his stance on Israel.
The assemblyman still won't say he believes that Israel has the right to exist as a Jewish state.
I've said time and again that I recognize Israel's right to exist.
And from business leaders opposed to taxes on the wealthy.
Do you like capitalism?
No, I have many critiques of capitalism.
He has worked to distance himself from his earlier calls to defund the police and apologized for a tweet calling the NYPD racist.
And I apologize because of the fact that I'm looking to work with these officers.
President Donald Trump and Mamdani's relationship already looms large.
I'm not going to send a lot of money to New York. Somebody's going to be a communist mayor of New York. It's a fluke.
At a time when national Democrats are divided over how to counter Trump, Mamdani's win marks a victory for the progressive wing of the party. But how he handles the president will be a key test for the new mayor.
If he wants to get on the phone to talk about anything that would be to the benefit of New Yorkers, I will always pick up, I will always have that conversation. You're ready to fight in public if necessary, but you're ready to pick up the phone in private as well, because what New Yorkers really want is results.
For the first time in American history, an avowed, openly proclaimed socialist has been elected as the mayor of America's largest city. Zohran Mamdani is, without a doubt, the biggest win for socialism in the history of the country, and it is the biggest loss for the American people. He is truly a committed Marxist. And the results of that race tell you everything you need to know about where the Democrats and their party are headed.
This morning, I talked with Mayor-elect Mamdani. We had a very, very good conversation. We said that we cared about New York City and that we look forward to working together to help the city and improve the city. I congratulated him on running a very, very good campaign. And the issue that he is stressed is being stressed by Democrats across the country, from one end of America to the other, the high costs that the Trump administration is imposing on us and their failure to do anything about it.
Congratulations to Zohran Mamdani. No. That is not right. That is not right, and that is not us. That is not us. Tonight was their night, and as they start to transition to government, we will all help any way we can because we need our New York City government to work. We want it to work for all New Yorkers because our city is the greatest city in the world, and we will unite for New York City because we love New York City.
Mark, the election of socialist Zohran Mamdani, highlighting the ideological divide within the Democratic Party, pitting far-left progressives and socialists against more moderate Democrats who worry his win could make it harder for the party in swing districts as Republicans use his radical proposals to drum up support among their base.
You have a range of views with the people being elected on the same day that I think will limit the fact that one candidate or the other represents the future of the Democratic Party. In some ways, what they represent is the continuing debate in the Democratic Party about how left they want to go.
House Speaker Mike Johnson stated Democrats in New York City have chosen a true extremist and Marxist, and the consequences will be felt across our entire nation. Zohran Mamdani's election cements the Democrat Party's transformation to a radical, big government socialist party. House Democrats endorsed Mamdani's dangerous policies, including defunding the police, seizing private property, and massive tax increases. The White House also slamming Mamdani over controversial remarks he made, blaming the president for bomb threats at some polling locations in New Jersey.
I saw those comments from Mamdani. I think they are completely irresponsible, and they are based on zero evidence. And I think this is just another example of how the Democrat Party unfortunately stands for nothing. All they stand against is President Donald Trump. And I think it's quite sad to see that we have someone at the top of the ticket on an election day today saying such things about the president when he obviously had absolutely nothing to do with those threats.
New Jersey authorities have already arrested a juvenile in connection with threats made at one polling location.
I am Muslim. I am a democratic socialist. And most damning of all, I refuse to apologize for any of this.
After wins from far-left Democratic and Socialist candidates, there are growing concerns the Democrat Party has taken a major turn that will cause wide divisions and perhaps even big defeat for the party in the midterms. And joining us to discuss is president of RMG Research, pollster and analyst Scott Rasmussen. Scott, thanks so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. First of all, your thoughts overall about what happened last night. What does this mean also for the Democratic Party, do you think, moving forward?
Well, Jans, good to see you. And what happened last night, obviously, just it was a good night for the Democrats. No matter how else you want to talk about it, they won all the key races. But they are going to be the races aren't as decisive as you want to think, as some people want them to be. The reality is only about 1 out of 9 New Yorkers voted for Mamdani. The state races in New Jersey and Virginia, those are Democratic states. So it was a good night. The Democrats outperformed expectations a little bit, especially in New Jersey. And we also have to remember that these kinds of races, low turnout off-year races, are dominated by groups who typically vote Democratic, especially people with a postgraduate degree.
Also, we have a historic government shutdown. How much did that play into a voter's decision yesterday?
You know, especially in Virginia, it likely had an impact because so many federal workers are affected by it. But also the impact across the nation is growing. When we first polled on this in the earliest days of the shutdown, hardly anybody noticed anything was going on. As of yesterday, 44% of voters nationwide say they have been impacted by the shutdown, at least to some degree. 16%, so 1 out of 6 voters say they've been impacted a lot. We're starting to see the impact in flight delays and other things, and I think those numbers will keep going up. And yes, voters hate shutdowns, and they blame the party in power.
Let's take a closer look at some of the numbers in New York City. You talked about Mamdani a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit more than 1 million voters actually turned out for him there, but there's 9 million people in New York City. Here's the numbers. He did win 50.4%, so even if you combine Andrew Cuomo and Curtis Sliwa in this particular case here, he still would have won. However, when you look at the percentages here, you know, you're talking about less than 15% of New Yorkers are actually choosing this person to run the city there. What was your thoughts about this race?
You know, this whole race, reading about it, has just made me roll my eyes all the time. First of all, why did Mamdani win? Well, partly because he ran a good campaign. Partly in the general election because Andrew Cuomo was his primary opponent, a deeply flawed and deeply despised candidate. You would have won against Andrew Cuomo. So there's a...
Well, thank you.
But so, look, there's a divide in the Democratic Party. The divide has been there for a long time. In our polling, we continually poll to understand this divide. You know, on the Republican side, there's the MAGA versus traditional Republicans divide. The MAGA voters clearly are dominant on the Republican side. But in the Democrats, there's the moderate, there's the Chuck Schumer wing, the old school Democrats, and then there's the new rising progressive Democrats. And those two, the party is evenly divided between them. It's a fight that's going to keep playing out for years.
So then what do you do if you're a Democrat?
Well, if you're a Democrat, what you do is you run somebody like Mamdani in New York City, and you run somebody who is far more moderate if you're trying to win a purple district or a purple state race. And that's where the problem comes in, because the progressive base really believes that the reason they're losing is because their candidates aren't progressive enough. You know, I live in Texas. If you try to run a very progressive candidate in Texas, you're not going to do all that well. It's just not going to work.
No, and the question becomes, will this now help Republicans in the midterms because you have such a fractured Democratic Party?
To some degree, but James Carville said it in 1992, and it's still true today. It's the economy, stupid.
Yeah.
The most important factor in determining how the midterms will turn out is going to be the economy next year. Right now, 31% of voters say their finances are getting better, 31% worse. Those aren't great numbers. They're better than they were a year ago.
Correct.
But what matters is next year.
Yeah, and will Mamdani's, what he wants to propose, will his policies have had that effect early enough before the midterms for folks to realize that it's, you know, not working? So that's also the question too, don't you think?
I think absolutely. The Republicans will do everything within their power to raise up Mamdani and his voice and present him as the face of the Democratic Party, because in large segments of the country it won't work. But, you know, some of what people fear has already happened. There are more banker jobs in Texas than there are in New York these days.
Yeah.
There has been an exodus from the city for a long time. I expect it will continue and maybe accelerate a little bit.
The big headline this morning I'm seeing, Wall Street headed to Texas. Yeah. New York will never be the same. All right, RMG Research President, pollster, and analyst Scott Rasmussen, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.